In less than 24 hours' time, we've got State of Origin game number 2 for 2025 emanating out of Optus Stadium. And to help me preview and give his opinion on the game for tomorrow night, I've got Hainsey with me. Hainsey, mate, what's your opinion on what could happen tomorrow night?
New South Wales 13 plus. Simple.
Queensland 13 plus.
New South Wales. New South
Queensland. 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 Howdy, everyone. Welcome back to Wobble Enjoy Sports. If you're new around here, hope I can get you to consider to like the content and subscribe to the channel. But if you're a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. And if you are a regular around these here parts, you know that right now is the debut on Wobble Enjoy Sports for the one and only Hainsey. It's a freaking pleasure to have you on. We've met in person a couple of times, but it is good to actually talk some footy with you for a short period of time here this evening. How are you doing this evening, bro?
Sam's a pleasure, mate. First time on the Wobble Enjoy Sports channel. Great to be here. Doing well, mate. Obviously, night before State of Origin can be a little bit intense. The nerves start to kick in around about this time. But, ready to show. Obviously, we've got Origin tomorrow night. Then we've also got a great round of footy, so I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, we sure do. Now, to everybody that will trickle in, to anybody that is not accustomed to Hainsey, follow the link, the hyperlink in the name of the title. It will take you straight to his YouTube channel. And there, from his YouTube channel, the base, it will take you elsewhere throughout the stratosphere. But Hainsey, if you don't mind, man, since you are debuting, but since you're on Wobble Enjoy Sports for the first time, man, talk to us why about the Sydney Roosters, bro, and what of the 4 or so premierships since I've been really of adult mind. What has been the standout premiership to you, mate?
Wow, very hard to pick at the top of my head favorite premiership because they've all been special to me. But it's very, very interesting about the Roosters. Obviously, my family, mum's a Dragons fan, dad's a Tigers fan. But my brother was a Roosters fan, so I sort of followed that way. And I just love the colours red, white, and blue, like the tricolours. I've just fell in love with it. My brother's favourite player was obviously Freddie. But once I started watching rugby league from a young age, quickly identified one of my favourite players of Anthony Minicello. And, loyal as I am, I found my team. I've stuck with them ever since I started following them. So, it's, even though I was born in 2002, hypocritical to say I've been a Roosters fan for 23 years. So, but I'm going to claim that. But yeah, so that's sort of a bit of the story behind the Roosters. And then I can't really split them. Like, they're all special. Like, obviously, I was only, 5 months old when we won in 2002. But, it was you asked a Roosters fan in that time how significant that was to the club. Like, that was our first premiership win since 74, 75. So we went through a tough spell, but to finally get that premiership there in 2002, it meant a lot to the Roosters faithful. Then obviously got 2013. That was the first one I really remember. Like the Bondi War, as everyone, that year, the first year on the Robbo, like the signings we had of, Maloney, SPW, Michael Jennings, Luke O'Donnell, I believe, played that single season for us as well. So, that was also special, but if I have to pick any, I can't split them, but I'm going 18-19 because I was there for them. I was there at the grand final in 18. Just being in Sydney that whole week, the build-up was gigantic. There was a lot of, obviously, the speculation about will Cooper Cronk play, will Billy Slater play? But yeah, when we got out there, it was one of the best 40 minutes performances I think I've ever seen us play in that grand final. And then obviously 19 was even, just as special as, being there live, seeing the first NRL team in the NRL era to win back-to-back premierships, and, the celebrations at the Leagues Club and back to Bondi, that was, very special core memories at they'll never leave me. So I'll probably have to say 18-19 combined are my two favorites.
Yeah, I was at work in 2018. I was sitting next to a colleague and we were watching the 2018 grand final on the phone, and she didn't know much about rugby league. I did. And even she at that time throughout that first half was in amazement of, oh my God, this Roosters team, they're angry. they're a mean team. And like, I couldn't help but like look at her in awe and say, yeah, they're winning this whole friggin' thing, and it's not even half time yet. Like it was, wasn't it? That first half in 2018 was extraordinary for your blokes, and I was absolutely barracking for them that night, 100%.
At the ground, like it's very hypocritical of me to say now, but I didn't feel nervous going into that game. I just felt like,
oh,
we're gonna win this. I just had that feeling. 19, I was nervous. I'll say that 19, I was nervous wreck because it was like Canberra playing well. The fairy tale. Canberra fans are everywhere, but 18 just felt like, nah, I reckon we'll get them. Like, got to believe. I was like, I reckon we can get them. And it didn't feel. I just had that, that feeling when you walk into the ground, like, we're going to win today.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no real nerves about the grand final, which completely different to the year after, that's for sure.
Now you just can't stop winning, Hainsey, because late this afternoon, in the present here and now, it was announced that South Sydney are not going to be prime time heavyweights at Allianz Stadium. They have been told that you can play 1, 2, maybe even 3 games a season there. But just your initial reaction to the news that South Sydney is not going to be wanting their request fulfilled.
Oh, look, as Roosters fans, we're over the moon. Like, obviously, I've got my green screen behind me with the the beautiful Allianz Stadium. Like, obviously everyone's gonna have different opinions on it. As Roosters fans, we're not trying to claim the stadium as a whole. We're not saying that everyone, we've got the Waratahs and City FC, and obviously us, we're the original teams there before the stadium got knocked down. So, but obviously, we've said what we thought of the. I was on a podcast about it with playing Sitbull and obviously Matty the Water Boy about the debate about it. But as a Roosters fan, it's great to hear that they're not coming to Allianz. I think the club were in a pretty good, strong position about it from the start. Like, my personal thoughts, I thought South, with their campaign, how they were posting regularly, my thoughts were that they were sort of on the back foot from the beginning. They sort of had deep down, so they tried to, push it out content-wise and updates about it as much as they can, because they felt like they were a club that were, desperate, while we got the Roosters sitting back and they didn't do it. They didn't engage as much as, as probably us Roosters fans would have thought. It was we're just sitting back here while Souths are, posting about Allianz every week. And we're and then now when I see it, I'm like, now I can see why, because they knew from the start that this wasn't going to happen, and they're just happy to sit back and they knew where they stand on it. But I know, NRL rival fans and South fans obviously aren't going to agree with this decision. I get that. I totally understand that. But as a Roosters fan, we've been there since 1908. It's our heartland. I don't care what any South fans thinks have the audacity to say that Moore Park is their heartland. Literally, the stadium is built, even though it's Moore Park, it's on Paddington's side. It's near Paddington more than any other suburb. So, but we got our headquarters there. So, Souths can, have their 2 cents on it. But at the end of the day, at this stage, they're not coming. If we have to put up with one game, I mean, 2 or 3 games, sure. But at the end of the day, we, just so relieved that we can put this aside now and finally claim Allianz Stadium fully, even though we did it from the start.
I think it is. I think it's the right result. That it was built as Roosters' home. They didn't have any sort of feeling before Allianz was. I don't think anyway that Allianz
they were sorry to cut you off, Sam, but they were asked.
Yeah.
about it in
Or the
2022.
last.
They knocked it back.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, no, it just I just remembered that they weren't really vying
No, they
for it,
weren't
and
interested in it a couple of years ago. That's for sure.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, no, and so now they're asking for it. Alrighty, let's talk about even more present times at the moment. Let's actually talk about and try to predict the freaking future. Let's talk about round number 16. And let me bring up the team lists in 3, 2, and 1. All right. So we start on Friday night footy, West Tigers versus the Canberra Raiders. And on Sportsbet, the Tigers are $3.22. The Canberra Raiders are $1.35. Both of these sides are coming off of a bye. The Tigers putting in a very nice effort against the Penrith Panthers on Sunday afternoon 2 weeks ago. And the Canberra Raiders, what the hell did they do? I think they won last time that they played, didn't they? That was against, that was against, of all teams, yes, South Sydney, half you like. But Hainsey, mate, talk to us about the West Tigers first of all. What have you made about their season so far?
Like the start of the year, they were really, really good. And like I said at the start, my old man's a Tigers fan, so obviously I got a soft spot for the Tigers. That's sort of my unofficial second team. But I've been really impressed at the start of the year how they, and there was a couple of games at the start of the year where I think the Sharks game and the Dolphins game where I said to him, it was like last year, even though you got like they were down like by 12 or so points in that, I'm like, last year they dropped their heads and they get belted, but they were able to, they hang in the fight, scratch and claw, and win these games that they didn't win last year. But I think unfortunately for the Tigers, their season sort of has been unraveled from the Lockie Galvin situation, which it's a shame because they were a lot of promising signs in the first 6 weeks of the season from the West Tigers. It was literally after the Easter Monday game against the week before that, the Tigers had a good win against, I can't remember who it was, and then it was announced that Lockie Galvin was gonna not fulfill another contract with the Tigers, and ever since then it's just been a little bit of a shit show to make sense from the Tigers. But they've been in games where obviously they had a blowout against Melbourne, but like I think that's just not on the Tigers itself. Melbourne have been really, really hard to win, hard to beat in on Sunday afternoon games at Amy Park this year. So, but obviously they had a red hot crack against the Panthers, and you could argue, they were a little bit controversial in that game. But even that though, they were only a try-saving tackle from Sorensen away from sealing that game. The South game, Lockie Galvin drops it over the line. Those two results can turn around. We're talking about a different type of season for the West Tigers, but I think the positive thing for them now is that the Lockie Galvin situation is over. Is that the Dogs now they can focus on just getting back playing some consistent footy.
Everyone needs to move on 100%. So in the lineup for the West Tigers, they're 1-7. Features Heath Mason back at 5'8". I think he's done really well when he has featured this season. Fanua Pole returns to the starting pack, just returns in general, actually. Samuel Afinu, Seyfarth, and Twal is the back row, and the interchange for them is De Silva, Latu Finu, and Jack Bird. I do think it is a decent-looking side. Now, Jerome Luai has been named at halfback. I don't foresee that coming to fruition. Do you, Hainsey?
It all depends, especially a 2-day turnaround from Perth. Flying the next day, then you're playing the next day. Look, it all depends on tomorrow night. Like, Luai could have a good game. He feels all right. He's like, you know what? I'm going to back up. The club need me to kind of thing, set an example. It all depends on tomorrow night. Like, it's obviously not penciled in. He's been named, but we'll know like honestly, like, because I think this is the tough part. When they play Friday, okay, so so Thursday 8 o'clock, that's when the team gets shrink to 19. So I think we'll know a lot more then come Thursday afternoon whether or not he'll be lining up for the Tigers or not.
And I reckon if Jerome Luai is to be a late scratching, I would think that Latu Fainu and jersey 16 would shift into the halfback role, and that would bring, like a Tony Suka up into the interchange bench. So we would see Mason and Latu Fainu as the halves pairing at Campbelltown this Friday. Now, over on the other side of the paddock, the Green Machine, the Canberra Raiders, arguably maybe the best team in the competition right now. There is going to be a debut. Jed Stewart, Ricky Stewart's son, will debut on the Sting. The forward pack is as a full strength as it gets, even though Big Red, I guess Big Red will, since he's not going to be 18th man, I guess that means, Hainsey, that Big Red would be flying back probably today, maybe tomorrow morning if he's not going to be 18th man. And then the interchange for the Raiders is Patty, Sasangi, Smithies, and Atta Mariota. Man, what have you made about the Raiders, and what do you reckon about this lineup for them? And ultimately,
Canberra,
Hainsey,
I
who are you
think
going to tip?
they've been really, really surprising this year. Like I personally didn't, but a lot of people had them for the spoon, which, you always know with the Canberra side, they're a gritty team. They are a really gritty team. And there's been a few times this year the last couple of years where we've expected a drop off from Canberra, and they've just picked themselves up and made on it. Gone on this remarkable run to make finals, and even a shock upset in the week one of the finals. So they are a team that can do that, Canberra. But this year, they've exceeded expectations. They won the most wins this year. Fresh off a bye too this week, and the Tigers don't have the best record at Campbelltown, which is a bit of a worry for Tigers fans. You want to make your home ground a fortress, but they just seem to struggle to get wins there. However, though, they did get a win against Canberra last time out at Campbelltown to mention, so keep that in mind. But I think obviously Corey Hawkesworth, he'll be there in the squad till all week, kind of thing. That's how it works. So they'll still be a part of the squad come game day in case of an injury. But obviously he'll fly back over Thursday. Obviously he won't play tomorrow night, so he will line up for Canberra tomorrow on Friday. So in terms of the tip, look, it's just I'm actually am going to tip the upset because mainly because the Tigers are due for a win and Canberra are due for a loss, in my personal opinion.
Oh, wow.
I just think, they might be a little bit too complacent from the bye, and the Tigers are going to come out after the bye needing a win. So, if Luai plays, I'll back the Tigers, even though soft spot or not, I'm still going to back them for an upset 1-12 win.
I have seen a lot of Tigers Raiders games throughout my days, and they sometimes can provide the most thrilling contests ever. And I really am looking forward to the contest on Friday night. But I am going to tip the Raiders. But I think there is something about maybe the start about the West Tigers, or for the West Tigers, because the Raiders, they had a huge first 14, 15 weeks of the season. They finally had their first bye. So maybe they might just come out either a little bit cocky, as what you mentioned before, or they will come out just a little bit like clunky or sort of thing like that. I do think the Tigers will give them just a bit of a scare, but I'm going to keep it safe. I'm going to say the Raiders, but I'm going to say 1-12. But Hainsey, you're going the West Tigers. I friggin' love it, mate. Yes, sir. Now let's go into Saturday and let's talk about game one on Super Saturday. It is the New Zealand Warriors versus the Penrith Panthers. And I think, Hainsey, you'll agree with me that this is a bit difficult to tip, man, because we actually really won't know what the hell it actually will look like come kickoff. But at the moment, Hainsey, the Warriors, they are $1.25. The Penrith Panthers are $4. And Hainsey, Penrith Panthers, are the Origin Stars going to back up or not?
I don't think they were named, were they? But Ivan Cleary was saying they're going to arrest them all.
Let's have a look at the team lists now in 3, 2, 1. And they have not been named. That is a fresh reaction. I haven't seen the team lists. So the Origin Stars have not been named.
Yeah, look, obviously Ivan spoke about it yesterday. Look, it depends on who you ask about it. If you're a Penrith fan, you'd be annoyed that obviously Origin and Perth, then 3 days later that you're playing, you're expecting to play in New Zealand against the Warriors. But I think it's a gamble here from Ivan Cleary, obviously resting his Origin players. Even though they're not far out of the 8, but they are currently 9th spot. They're not in the 8. They're not in the top 4. They're not first or second like they have been in previous years where they have been able to rest Origin players. during this period. You know, they need wins. You know, we all know this. You know, the stat of like, I can't remember the last time a team from outside the top four has won the premiership. So, you know, and they're 7 points off fourth. So they need a remarkable run in the back end of the season to be in that top four situation for them to, you know, have a red hot crack of winning a 5th premiership in a row. So it is a bold move here from Ivan Cleary, but obviously he's thinking that, you know, the welfare of his squad. You know, I think, you know, we will know more later in the season if it's a right move or not. So obviously you can see the reasons why Penrith are paying $4, but there's still quality team on paper. The Panthers, and that is definitely a team that can show up and definitely get the job done.
I'll tell you what. Yep. At times this year, Hainsey, they have been a little bit smaller coming off the interchange bench, but whilst they're missing Isaiah Yeo and a handful of others, it's still a pretty decently sized forward pack coming off the bench in Ghana, Patea, Henry, and then young Trent Tolau, when he unfortunately had a barrier of barriers against South Sydney earlier this season. But the halves pairing is Talangi and Brad Schneider, and then the forward pack it's close enough to a full strength forward pack. Now, conversely for the New Zealand Warriors here, so because Kurt Capewell is on origin duties, we got Moala Graham Talfa, who's going to be playing in the centre slot, and then Lika Halasima, Laban, and Clark. They can lay claim. They can put the flag down right now and say they are the best back row in the competition, even though we just spoke about the Canberra Raiders. The interchange is Tamare Martin, Ford, Faye Malga, and Tanastow Smith. And just looking at the reserves to see if there might be a sneaky little inclusion. I don't think anyone from the reserves, other than maybe Samuel Healy, will come up. But Hainsey, man, what are your thoughts on this game, and who do you reckon you're going to barrack for?
I think there's one battle that we all want to see: Leota v. Fisher Harris.
Yes,
I think we all want to see that. We want to see
yes.
going at the Bash Bros going at it. That's what, you know, one of the, you know, identified as one of the key matchups fixture of the season was this one. So looking forward to it. The Warriors, they've been hard to beat at home this year. I expect nothing different here. I think the Warriors win well. I'm going a 13+ victory here. I think it's easy. It's quick to note, though, even though Penrith in the origin period for the last 4 years, you know, have had players out, but they've been unscathed because they've had one player through that origin period. That's Dylan Edwards. He's obviously been named in the obviously fullback for New South Wales now. He's not there for Penrith. You know, I think we've noticed that late last year and last year through the origin period, and this year that they've struggled without him. So I expect no different here. I'm going to Warriors 13+.
I love that you reminded me of that it's going to be the Fish versus Leota. That's going to be very, very special, bro. A shame that it had to happen in round origin time where it's not full strength, but no, looking forward to it. Me personally, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go the Warriors. I still get this feeling because they've just been doing it for decades now, the Warriors, that one of these weeks they're going to just barely scrape by like a Gold Coast Titans, for example. You know, I don't know what kind of line to go for here, but I'll show the Panthers a little bit of respect. I'll go 1-12 here. There's still enough quality there to maybe make the Warriors maybe trip out a little bit, but I'm going to tip the Warriors. I'm right there with you. Let's move into the second game on Super Saturday, and this is going from Perth all the way to HBF Park in Perth. It is the Dolphins versus the Newcastle Knights. The Dolphins at HBF Park are $1.25 favourites. The Newcastle Knights, they are $4, and this is the last time the Dolphins will play at Perth or in Perth because they've struck a deal with Darwin to maybe play their games. I think maybe it was 3 seasons for the next 3 years to play their games in Darwin. So no more matches over across the Nullarbor for the Dolphins. And I'll just bring in the team list in 3, 2, 1. Let's check out the team lists here and now. So Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow. Well, that's interesting too, Hainsey, that because they're playing this game in Perth, Kalen Ponga and Hammer, they have both been named.
Yeah, well, I think it's a marketing great awareness here from the NRL that obviously Origin on Wednesday. I mean, I think it would have made perfect sense to have it on the Friday, as you know, obviously people might, you know, people are really going to stay that long in Perth, especially like Sydney sides and Queenslanders that are travelling over for Perth for Origin. But you know, for Western Australian rugby league fans, you're over the moon. Obviously, great time for you right now. You obviously got the Perth Bears arriving in the next couple of years, but you got Origin on tomorrow night, and then you've got a club game in a couple of days' time. So if you're a fan living in Perth or in Western Australia, you'll be enjoying the fact that you've got not one but 2 games of rugby league in the same week, and the 2 big ones too.
Yep. Now, I want to get your opinion on this, mate, because you saw the Newcastle Knights firsthand, even though you had to wipe the rain from your friggin' eyes constantly. Fletcher Sharp and Jack Cogger are the halves pairing again. That's because Kalen Pong is back into the side. Put your tinfoil hat on. Is Jackson Hastings out of this side because Kalen Pong is back in? And do you think, based off of his performance last weekend, do you think Jackson Hastings actually deserved to be dropped this week?
Oh, excuse me. Personally, no.
Yep.
He had a great game. I thought they were a lot better with Hastings in the halves. They looked all right, even though they didn't score. They didn't really look damaging on our line, but they did make me feel a little bit nervous throughout that game. That's for sure. You know, the what if Hastings had Ponga there, might have been a different story. But yeah, it's a bit of a tough one for Hastings. You know, he could have done nothing more to help Newcastle win that game last week. Maybe that was always the plan. That it may, and who knows that he wasn't even going to get a run if it wasn't for Fletcher Sharp being injured last week. So yeah, it's very interesting. But I still personally, the question is, where do you put? You got 3 halves there. Where do you put them all, kind of thing. So one has to miss out. So maybe if Knights would have won last week, we're talking about another team list here. So yeah, it's a tough one. But I still personally would have gone Hastings. But thank God.
Hainsey, man. So, like, we're looking like the 2023 Newcastle Knights sort of thing at the moment, because Dominic Young, he is going to make his return game for the Newcastle Knights. I'm not putting you under the bus here, Hainsey, but I know that at times you've wanted Dominic Young on the catapult for a couple of his defensive moments over the years. So, and then we've also got Bradman Best, who's also returning for the Newcastle Knights as well. Greg Marju is also in there. So their back line, you sort of look at Jack Cogger and go, mate, you've got the pieces there now, at least in the back line. I know the forwards provide the platform, but even so, like Lucas, Pearce-Paul and Crossland, that's a hard-working back row for Newcastle Knights. So yeah, there's that back line does look a hell of a lot better. But I mean, the Dolphins at the moment are doing things out of this world, and I'm still sporting the bruises on my ass from what happened back on Saturday night, Hainsey. Dolphins, they are on the cusp of featuring in finals for the first time in their history. And I probably shouldn't say cusp because we're only just past the halfway point, but you know what I mean. Like, the Dolphins are looking really, really good.
Yeah, they're playing well the last few weeks. Origin affected or not, they still had a day out against your Cowboys last week. They did it again to the Dragons a week before, and they've also put 40 past Melbourne. They've had a really good, good season. But it's there's been times where we've seen the Dolphins be in the top 8. They've been in the top 4 at times in their first couple of seasons in the NRL, and they sort of fade away a little bit. Not saying it's going to happen this year, but it's done that before. So so it'd be interesting on how they go for the rest of the season. But the way they're looking now, they look like the informed team in the comp. And I think the most impressive part about it is that they're scoring points, a lot of points, and not conceding many either. It's not like those 50-20 blowouts. It's 58-6, 58-4. Like, they're not conceding points either, which is, and their for and against has just gone from maybe plus 20 to like 190 in the last month.
Man.
Got the best for and against in the comp, but yeah, like, it's incredible. And normally, and everyone expects the Dolphins to struggle this year because of the Wayne Bennett curse, but like, they're proving that wrong at the moment, and they don't look like losing anytime soon. That's for sure.
Yeah. I put in my my halfway team of the year a couple of weeks ago, when like Christian Wolf now, like with the Dolphins, they've just gone like that. on a straight up trajectory. So like now Christian Wolf does sort of come into calculations for Coach of the Year conversations. So me, I'm going to go the Dolphins. I will say 13 plus. What about you, Hainsey?
I'm actually going to go 1-12. Like,
Yep.
I think Newcastle, they play. I think with Bradman Best back, Ponga back, Frizzell's back. They got some big names back. I think they can put up a fight, but the Dolphins are playing well, but I still think it'll be a tight one because I think Newcastle, they're building for a win, but they've got players back. I don't think it'll be as a blowout as people think. Even though it's hypocritical to say because they're doing it to everyone at the moment, the Dolphins, but I think Newcastle will be, I think they'll be hurt after last week, that's for sure. And with players back, I reckon they can put up a fight.
All right, let's move into the last game on Saturday, and it is from Accor Stadium. South Sydney's home forever now, seemingly. South Sydney hosts the Melbourne Storm.
Sam, home shares.
Home for shares. And stunningly, I'm literally seeing this for the first time, Hainsey. South Sydney are $4.20 outsiders. Storm are $1.23 favourites. I got to have a look at this friggin' team list. Let me do it in 3, 2, and 1. Sharing that now, and I'll just drop that graphic. But let's have a look at the team list here, man, because $4.20. So it's bizarre. So you've got the Penrith Panthers coach, Ivan Cleary, that has just categorically said no to his players playing in New Zealand. I get that it's over in New Zealand. I get that. But I'm looking at the Melbourne Storm lineup here, and Munster has been named. Harry Grant has been named. And I know it's all sort of, maybe like ducks and drapes sort of thing, man. But I'm actually kind of stunned that you'd even bother naming them, considering they're playing in Perth, bro. So that Melbourne Storm lineup looks as decent as ever, as good as ever. And then looking over into the Rabbitohs lineup, Mitchell has been named. We've got Lewis Dodd and Jamie Humphreys as the halves pairing due to the Cody Walker injury. And the forward pack there, Malali and Arrow to start, Aitken, Duncan, Hubner, and Totola, Ryan Gray. I believe Ryan Gray might be making his debut, not sure. Last week. Thank you. And then Kolomatangi and Walker have been named on the reserves, but they're both out for the next at least month, from what I understand. So I guess now that I'm looking at the team list, Santi, I guess it does make sense.
Is it because they got no one else to name?
Oh, they're getting towards the bottom of the barrel, aren't they?
Yeah, I think that's why. That's why it's maybe the case. But
do you agree? Do you agree with $4.20?
Yeah, like they're up against a red hot Storm side, and they're struggling with injuries this year. If you're not a Roosters fan, you would feel sorry about how they are. But obviously, as a Roosters fan, I'm not. I got no sympathy for South fans and South whatsoever. But I can see why that. But keep an eye though. I did see though Campbell Graham in the reserves. He was training this week, I believe. So it might maybe a late inclusion of Campbell Graham. And he's a hands down the best defensive center in the comp. I'm not ashamed to admit that. Like that game against the Tigers, like I mentioned.
Man,
they don't win that game without Campbell Graham. He is such. He irritates me how good he is. But but yeah, look, yeah, they're just absolutely in a world of hurt over the Rabbitohs with injury. So, but the Trails there, anything can happen. We've seen this year that with the Wayne Bennett side, Souths are fighters, so they will scrap and claw in this game, like they've done so many times this year before. So, yeah, look, it's hard to get a read on the South, but there's still enough players there. But I just think it's a full-strength Storm side. I can't see Melbourne not winning this game.
Yeah, not
losing.
Yep. Sorry. Yeah, even if Munster doesn't back up, even if Grant doesn't back up, I still believe in the caliber of player that they got there. Like Tyron Wishart will easily slot into 5'8", then Garlick in at hooker. Like I definitely believe in the Storm side still, even more so.
Jerome Hughes is the key for Melbourne. Like,
absolutely.
I've identified this before. Like, I remember times where, as a Roosters fan, we're going up against Melbourne, where Munster's out, but Hughes is still there, and they still carved us. But when Hughes is out and Munster's there with Wishart, this is the semi-final in 2023. We had loads of injuries out. Jerome Hughes was laid out, and I don't think it's 18-13 to them if Jerome Hughes is on the field. I think we get carved up with the injuries we had, but I think he's such a key to this side, Jerome Hughes. So I can see a world where Munster and Grant gets ruled out. Melbourne will win well.
Yeah, and Pappenhausen as well. Like, he is arguably top three. I don't think arguably, actually, like top three fullbacks in the competition so far in 2025. So I think it's fair to say that you and I are going Melbourne Storm. I think I will have to go 13 plus on the Storm here.
Yeah, I agree.
Alrighty then.
I wouldn't be surprised if Latrell puts the team on his back and fluke a win. It's one of those games where Souths have a knack of out of nowhere beating a top four side. They've done it before. So,
well, you've just put the fear of God into me now, Haynes, because I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
100%. All right, now let's move into a very, very important Sunday. But let's start with game number one. All righty, so we've got the Brisbane Broncos versus the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks from Suncorp Stadium. And on Sportsbet, the Broncos, they are coming into the game as the favourites, $1.48. The Cronulla Sutherland Sharks, they are $2.66. I don't know about that, Hainsey, but I think that this, besides our personal beliefs and what have you, I think the Broncos and Sharks does actually lay claim to being the game of the round.
Yeah, definitely a possibility. Yeah, obviously the Sharks have been a little bit hit and miss. Broncos, after the shock flogging against Manly, they come out and showed what they can do, and the All Blacks, I guess we could say, with those beautiful mental health jerseys that they wore. They were on another level, the Broncos. This is a really interesting game. Looking at the team list there, obviously it's a 5-day turnaround, so I'm guessing all the Queensland and New South Wales Broncos players will line up. Payne Haas has been named. Yes, he has.
Yes.
So Paddy Carrigan. Is there anyone? I think there's just the two there, I believe. Obviously Ezra Man, 18th man, which we don't need to get into that.
No.
Obviously no Origin players for the Sharks. Is there anyone? I'm trying to look at it now. Anyone that's returned recently?
Well, so Hiroti is out, so therefore Talakai will play centre this weekend.
Yep.
So that he'll be playing left centre off the top of the dome, and he'll be up against Staggs. So, gee whiz, he'll have to be as mobile as ever, because if Staggs is on form like he was in his All Blacks jersey a couple of weeks ago, man, like he could be in for a bit of a long night, Talakai, just quietly.
He's been really unlucky in the Origin arena. Like, Staggs has been, like, you keep forgetting that Staggs, even though he plays for the Broncos, he's a New South Welshman. He's played Origin before. Like, he has showed Origin form, but obviously he's not going to get overlooked over Latrell and Stephen Crichton, but he just does the same stuff every week at Tony Staggs. He's a gun of a player. In terms of this game, it's going to be a shock, but the Broncos don't have a great record at Suncorp in the afternoons. So I'm leaning that way. I'm going the Sharks in the 1-12 upset.
It's such an important game for both of these sides, because the Sharks 100%. Got the win. They got the win against the Dragons, but gee whiz, they had to do it the hard way, didn't they?
Yeah, But Broncos aren't convincing in the afternoons. We've seen it. Magic Round, Dragons as well. I called that.
Yeah.
Dragons are winning that game.
Holy.
So I'm continuing tradition here. I don't tip the Broncos in the day games at Suncorp, so I'm going the Sharks in the 1-12. Might surprise everyone, but every time I've tipped the opposition against the Broncos in the afternoons at Suncorp, I've been proven right. So I'm following that line.
Look, I might look. Speaking of following lines, I've got to say that one of the keys, and this I don't know what your opinion on this would be, but Brendan Piakura and Jordan Ricky Hainsey versus Britton Nikora and Teague Wilton. I, I'm sorry to lombast if you're a Broncos fan, but I really don't. I see the talent in the second rowers for the Broncos, but I think that they could do or be so much more than what they are currently. And you look at the second rowers, Teague Wilton, I think he is somebody that is still trying to tap into that potential. He's somebody that hasn't had many opportunities as Jordan Ricky has to try and tap into that potential. So they're sort of like similar in that regard. But Britton Nikora, I can't remember who is going to be going up against, whether it's going to be Piakura or Ricky. Besides the point, Nikora, I don't think has been at his best, and he has been arguably top 3 second rowers over the past 2 to 3 seasons now, top 5, let's say. And I don't think Nikora has actually quite hit those heights throughout 2025. And if he does, whoever he's lining up on, Nico Hines and Braden Trindle could really cause some damage by using Britton Nikora as the main weapon this weekend.
He did score a nice try against the Dragons last week, I believe. So, yeah, you're right though. It's interesting, isn't it?
So, look, the other interesting thing here too is that you got Dean Mariner that's been named on the reserves. Selwyn Cobbo is still out in jersey number 19. So, I don't know. Maybe those whispers about him going to Sydney might get a little bit louder if he's not selected next weekend as well. But I'm going to give one more shot to the Sharkies. I tipped them to be grand finalists. I tipped them to win the comp this year, mate. Like I really did think that their time had apexed into this season, and they haven't quite gotten out of third gear, to be honest with you, man. And they're a team that have got bloody half a dozen in them. So I'm going to go the Cronulla Sharks here because the Broncos, they beat the Gold Coast Titans and that's it over the past 2 months.
Pretty much.
So, yeah, pretty much.
I don't want to, personally, I don't think, no disrespect to Titan fans whatsoever, but it seems like, it was a great win, but it was against 17th at the time. So now they're up against the top, 6, is it 5th or 6th v 7th? So we'll get a good indication about the Broncos this week, how they go. Obviously, Carrigan 13, I think, is the better option. Mam and Walsh linked up well together, as they always do. So, if you're a Broncos fan, hopefully you've turned the corner. But, the jury's still out, in my opinion.
Hainsey, for the 46th time, Eastern Suburbs take on the North Queensland Cowboys. And on Sportsbet, the odds for this game, the Roosters, they are $1.44. The Cowboys have somehow scraped into that $2 range, and they are $2.80 coming into this one. Now, Hainsey, I've given you a fair crack at the bloody team list now. Now, can you read your team list, mate?
Yep, no worries. Obviously, we'll start off with my boys, Tedesco, fullback and captain, with Daniel Tupou and Martin Nawanga-Nitawase. On the wings with Billy Smith and Bobby Toya in the centres, with Senna Smith and Hugo Savala in the halves. Lindsay Collins and Nafahu White in the front row, with Connor Watson named at 9. Gussie, Angus Crichton and Siwa Wong on the edge, with Salasi Faketi at jersey 13 and lock. And the bench, Benaya Leao with Zach Docker-Clay. Forgive me on this one. It's not Blake Steep, it's Boyd Steep. I call him Boyd Steep because he obviously has the boy called a bum chin. So Boyd Steep and Spencer Linu. Obviously, the interchange mentions there of Ethan King, Makatoa, Tom Rodwell, Taylor Lasalu, Chad Townsend, Xavier Va'a, and Jake Elliott. We've named 24 this week. Interesting. But yeah, obviously, looking at the squad, obviously no Igor Butcher, no Victor Radley. Which I expected. I think it's personally, even though it wasn't a cat 1 head knock, I think it's probably a good thing that he's having the week off because we've got the bye next week. So he's going to have a 3-week spell pretty much, Victor Radley. So that's probably going to help him personally. big time. Obviously, seeing a specialist this week. Hopefully, it goes all the best there, and we'll know more when he speaks to him. But obviously, like I said from the start of the previews, that it's very hard to get a read on it until after tomorrow night with players from Origin backing up and all that. So we won't know more, like obviously they'll be named, but it all depends on how they play tomorrow night and if there's any knocks or injuries and all that kind of stuff. They're going to nurse all suspensions. So, obviously, I'm expecting all five to back up. It's a 5-day turnaround into a bye. So it's probably a good thing for the Roosters as well that, they smash out this week. They play Origin tomorrow. Then they go home on Sunday. They get the job done, hopefully. Play, and then into the bye, another week off into another game before the Origin teams get announced again.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm expecting all five of them to play. Obviously unknown because it's always hard though trying to do like tips and preview of the game when there's still unknowns because potentially
so
the five.
many.
Now, and it'll be the same for you guys as well. So like it's hard. Mm-hmm. But just looking from the teams, I'm expecting all the set to be unchanged. But
mm-hmm.
So it's a good side for us. Obviously we saw it last week. Obviously this was before Sam Walker went down with that broken thumb, which
my God,
I don't want to talk about it. But I mean, it's only another month. That's fine. But we did it last week. Benaya Leo and Zach Clay were named in 14 and 15. Now, I'm expecting we did this after Origin 1. We played Benaya start with Connor Watson at 9 off the bench. I was really interested to see this week if we would have gone Victor. Obviously, we know Victor Radley would have gone Connor Watson at 13 to play Benaya, play at 9, and Zach Clay. But I think those three might rotate a little bit. I think Connor will play a bit of 13, a bit of 9, same with Docker Clay. I think Benaya is out and out 9. So That's the way I'm looking with that. But obviously, looking at the reserves, if Robert Toya doesn't back up from Origin, we've got Tom Rodwell, who's our winger for New South Wales Cup in in Jersey 20. So if Robert Toya doesn't get through Origin, Marcos is right centre, and Tom Rodwell will come in. Same thing here for the forwards, obviously, like Makatoa, Xavier Taylor Lasalu will be in and around the side there. God, I feel sorry for Ethan King. He's been 18th man all year, just can't get a run. Feel so sorry for Kingy, but look, I'm really keen to see, obviously, for Ketty play at lock. We all saw his try last week. He's such a great player for the future, but really good squad. I will say though, Lindsay Collins really needs to have a big game because he just really hasn't hit the ground running this year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, look, it's a good squad. It's always good to see a closer, full strength team, and it's we'll see how we go on Sunday, and we'll know more come tomorrow night after they get from Origin.
100%. Now let's go over to the North Queensland Cowboys and Scott Drinkwater, Rob Derby, and Murray Taulagi are the back three. Labutt, Vilea are the centres. Vilea coming back from a suspension. Jackson Purdue and Tom Dearden has been named at halfback. Yes, we will see what happens there. Forward pack, Jordan McLean, Robson, and Cohen Hess. We'll definitely see what happens there with Reece Robson. By the way, fuck you, Hainsey, for taking Robson off of this. Excuse my French. Dude.
That's right. We got Reece Robson next year. Mate,
man.
I don't want to kick the boot in, mate. Like, after seeing Origin 1, seeing him link up with Connor Watson, that partnership was like, I'm so excited for him next year, that's for sure.
Stop it. The back row, John Bateman, Jeremiah Nene, and Ruben Cotter. Bateman returning after a one-game suspension himself. Harrison Edwards, McIntyre, Griffin Neem, and Thomas Kamikaze McKaylee in jersey number 17. And obviously there you've got Jake Clifford, you've got Braden Burns and Tom Duffy, even if Reece Robson or Tom Dearden can't back up as well. I actually was surprised to see it, because they all did back up after State of Origin game number 1. And I thought, well, since these Origin stars are playing out at Perth, I think maybe they should probably have the weekend off. But they have been named, and if they want to and if they can play, then so be it. Awesome stuff. Hainsey, the Cowboys have leaked on average 5 tries for the past 5 to 6 weeks. And then the Saturday night happened, and that average probably blew up to 6, possibly even 7, Hainsey. I hope to goodness they are ready to fight this Sunday, not just for them, not just for the fans, man, because if this forward pack, who has been underrated all year, the Sydney Roosters I'm talking about, Ainsley, if this forward pack decide to get mean like they have probably 3/4 of the season, this Cowboys side might actually get bashed. Like, they legitimately might get bashed by the Sydney Roosters outfit. And I want to give a couple of people from your mob a bit of a wrap here. So first of all, James Tedesco, look, at the moment, or not at the moment, a few weeks ago, I had him second to Ryan Pappenhausen, but gee whiz, it's been going like that. Tedesco's been absolutely sensational. Nawaka Nitawase has been absolutely unreal. But I got to say, man, Hugo Savala has actually struck me, Hainsey, bro, because the way he is striking the ball at the moment, I like the way he kicks the ball, man. He gets great height, gets great distance. And when Sandon Smith shows up and decides to play an Anzac Day game, it's actually a really nice complementary halves pairing. I just want you to touch on Sandon Smith and more so Hugo Savala, the unknown halfback that's doing a really good job for you, Mob, this year.
Yeah, he has been. He actually got the nod over Sandon Smith to play last week. The partner was Sam Walker until obviously what happened. But obviously, as a Roosters fan, that I'm deeply invested in the club, where I'll watch anything related to the Roosters, SG Ball, Harold Matts, Jersey Flag, New South Wales Cup. So I've seen Hugo Savala before. He actually, funny enough, Sando and Hugo Savala played a lot of cup footy together last year, and they played a little bit of Jersey Flag, SG Ball. They played a lot of footy together, so that's why I called for it. Where I've seen him before, he played well in cup throughout the year. Hugo Savala, was like, Chad Townsend isn't working at the moment. He just, he hasn't lacked that confidence. He's lacking confidence. Got Hugo Savala, a young kid. He's like, why not? Why not? It's a rebuild year. Get him in there. We got him in there, and from the first game I was there, and he's obviously been there every game this year. The Broncos game at Suncorp, like that, I was just so impressed. I was like, we found him. We found one. We found a player that has a great kicking game, and he does. He's got a fabulous kicking game, And there's been times this year where he's kept us in games because of his kicking game. The thing that works well together with Sando and Hugo Savala is that they're different styles. Sando's a running half. You let him go. He controls what he controls. Hugo goes in and does his job. Great kicking game, good direction. And one thing that I'm impressed, though, his defense is really solid for halfback. I think he made like 30 tackles on the weekend against Newcastle. They just sent traffic to him.
Yep.
But look at his frame, and he's going to get bigger too. Like, he is going to be a star of the future. Like, and I'm just so impressed with him, how he's doing this year. And that's why, when Sam Walker went down last week, I was like, oh, I'm gutted for him. Like, we want Sam Walker in the team, but I'm like, you know what? We'll be fine. Like, Sando and Hugo have done the job all year. Nothing changes, kind of thing. So, yeah. So, like, I've been massively impressed with the entire squad this year, but like, in particular, Hugo and Sando, they've really stood up this year.
Absolutely well said. I definitely have been taken by Savala. Another fella that I haven't quite been taken by yet, because there's only so much rugby league one person can watch in a year, right? In a week even. But one of the stories of the year, I think, is Robert Toya. And he, made his State of Origin debut, playing again tomorrow night. If Robert Toya does back up in this game, it's not me trying to, put my wish in the wishing well, but or what have you, but like it might be a little bit too much footy for the youngster, if that makes sense, man. If he plays and if it stays what it is now, he's going to be lining up against Zach Laybutt. If Queensland, especially if Queensland win, Robert Toya coming back to Sydney with a truckload of confidence, taking on Zach Laybutt, who I would say Zach Laybutt has been a little bit slower than what I was hoping that he would be from returning from an ACL injury. Robert Toya could absolutely cause Zach Laybutt a hell of a lot of problems. Viliami Vailea taking on Billy Smith. It's the same sort of thing, though. Billy Smith, absolutely staunch against the Newcastle Knights this past weekend. He's had his moments this year, and someone that big, that stoic and hard-hitting in defence up against Vailea, who's a little bit up and down like the rest of this North Queensland Cowboys side. I think this centre pairing that you've got, it's underrated. At the same time, though, there's still so much left, so much surface left to scratch in the ways of Robert Toya, Hainsey.
Yeah, I've obviously he's been identified as this guy for so long at the club. He's been had awful setbacks with knee reconstructions, broken jaw. But I think we were excited that when he got named the debut in round one, I was like, here we go. Like, we've been waiting for this. And even though it was in a losing effort, we lost 50-14. Like, we saw the potential. And he's just gotten better each week, And obviously I didn't expect him to be named in Queensland this early, but that has just grown his confidence 10 times more. And I remember Origin, we were both there. He really contained Latrell in that game. Everyone was talking about, Latrell is going to have a field day. Yes, he contained him back when we played him in round 5, but this is Origin Latrell. Mm-hmm. He like Robert Toya was so impressive in that first game, and even though it was in a losing effort, he come back in the clubland so much confidence that he had a great game on the biggest stage, and he backed that form up for the Roosters that Sunday against Canberra, and I think he'll have another great game tomorrow night. And if like you said, it might be even better for him if Queensland win. He goes in full of confidence going into a Cowboys side, like you said, a little bit lacking at the moment.
That's just putting it mildly, mate. So, look, there's no need to ask for your tip. There's no need to ask for my tip as well. I'm going the Cowboys. They're going to win 1-12, win back-to-back games against the Sydney Roosters down at Allianz Stadium.
That game last year. I don't know how. I don't know how we lost that game last year.
That was that was a wild game, man, for sure. And someone like look, who needs to stand up? Like if Reece Robson does play, like not just because he's taken on his future opponent, but like I really think that if Reece Robson is to play, Jesus is going to be super important. And last weekend against the Dolphins was the first time I have seen Jackson Purdue just sort of shell up and play within himself. And it's the first time I've seen him contained, man. So hopefully he can have a bit of a bounce back game. But I am looking forward to this contest. But Jesus, the Cowboys got to fight fire with fire, Hainsey.
Yeah, I'm expecting the Cowboys to show up on Sunday. I think Todd Payten will be demanding a response, and I think your fans deserve a response. And no better place to go down to Sydney and play the Roosters. And I think a lot of people aren't really forgetting how important this game is. It's 8th v 10th, 1 point separate them. It's basically winners in the 8 out of these two teams. So it's a very, very important game for both teams. Obviously, the Roosters offer a scrappy win, but very important. It's going into our final bye of the season. We need that 4-point win kind of scenario here. Just entrenches into the top 8 because it's so tight. It's at home. It's surprising me that we don't have a really great record at home this year, which it is alarming. I think we've won 1 out of 5 at Allianz this year, which, you think the year before, the first 2 years at Allianz, we made it a fortress. So, yeah, especially after a great win, well, not great win, but a scrappy win, confidence there going into this one. Origin affected, yes, but so I'm expecting both teams to show up and hopefully the Roosters prevail, go 1-12. And I'm really expecting a massive fight from the Cowboys.
And you're going to be down there this Sunday?
Yeah, it will be. Yes.
Of course.
I'm going to every game this year, which set myself a challenge at the
course.
start of the year. So, always love going to Allianz. Like, I can see why South wanted to be there, but they're not going to be. It's such an incredible stadium. Like, we're so lucky to have it.
It is, man.
And I will say that our crowds have improved dramatically since the reopening of Allianz, and I can see why. Like, everyone wants to just be there. Like, it's such a incredible stadium, and always love coming to Allianz. Like, traveling. Obviously, there's a Newcastle last week, been in New Zealand this year, but no, there's no place like home. There's no better feeling walking in to your stadium and sitting with your fellow Rooster supporters.
Well, I was going to be a smart ass, and I still might be as well, Hainsey, but at least you don't have to bring the friggin' snorkel with you this Sunday. That's the one thing, man. What is doing with the drainage out there, bro?
I don't want to get into it. We're annoyed with it too. Like, it's just putrid.
Oh, putrid.
It is bad. Like, and it's alarming because the stadium's not even. It's an $800 million stadium, and the drainage is just very, very alarming. But I don't think it's going to rain on Sunday. So normally and there hasn't been much traffic on it recently, so there should be no excuse to get it. So we'll wait and see. But yeah, it is that the drainage needs to be sorted. I will say that.
And to finish round number 16, we to follow on the theme of what has been, who the hell knows? Parramatta versus the Gold Coast Titans out there at CommBank Stadium. The odds for this game is $1.67 to the Gold Coast Titans. The Parramatta Eels, they are $2.22, and I'll share the screen in 3, 2, 1. And I'll close off that overlay. Parramatta Eels versus Gold Coast Titans this weekend. And the team lists here, this is the first time I'm reacting to it. So we got Joash Papali'i and Dean Hawkins as a halves pairing, Hainsey. Yeah. The rest of the back line looks pretty similar to what has been. The forward pack looks similar to what has been. Wiramu Greg comes back into calculations on the interchange bench with Jordan Samrani in 17. Ronald Volkman still not chosen in favour of Dean Hawkins and Papali. Okay. And then the Gold Coast Titans, Hainsey, it's the same 1-7, if I'm not mistaken. Did Campbell play last weekend? I think he did. So it's the same.
Tino and Waker on the bench there. Interesting.
So Tino has been named, and David Fafita has been named as 18th player. Gee whiz, I'll tell you what, you might have dodged a bullet there, Hainsey.
Oh, man, I'm over the
moon. Man, sorry to do a drive-by there on David Fafita, but holy smokes.
I'm so glad that we kept Angus Crichton. Like Gus is actually a mate of mine now. We get along well.
Yeah, man.
I get free haircuts from him. Shout out to AC Flow. But no, like I'm so glad we kept Gus. But yeah, it's just been he's really only had that one season of the Titans, like 2021, where he really hasn't been, what he signed for. Is that fair to say?
Mate, you were talking my language, bro, because legit, I think in his entire friggin' history, no, you know what? Let's stop talking negative, right? Because we just saw Billy Slater talk about maybe keep your bad opinions to yourselves, all right?
Yeah,
we're going to be mature men. We're going to be mature men now, Hainsey. And I'm going to still say I have no effing idea what is going to effing happen in this effing game. Holy F.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, in hindsight, the Titans coming off a great win against Manly, but no disrespect intended, but it's the Gold Coast Titans. The next week they could be absolutely busted. Play like a busted so-and-so. So we don't know. Parramatta, on the other hand, no Moses, which is the big one for Parramatta. Hey, can I just tip a draw and we'll be done with it?
Yeah.
Mate, the Sunday 6 o'clock, I'll be on a plane back home to Brisbane, so I won't watch it. So probably for a good thing. But yeah, I don't know who to tip in this one. I really don't know. I'll just have to say Parramatta at home.
Oh, okay. Well, I will go against you then. I'll go the Gold Coast Titans. Because, that halves pairing of Papali and Hawkins, while Hawkins did really well a couple of weeks ago, it's just, totally unproven, mate. Well, that's it. I will go and create an overlay, and I will go post that to Instagram. But Hainsey, man, that was really enjoyable, bro. Thank you so much for your time. We did go way over by about 20 minutes, man. But I'm so grateful for your time, man. Best of luck, but not too much luck this weekend. But safest to travels, however, for you getting to and from Sydney, man. And what else is going on in the world of Hainsey coming up?
Not too much. Obviously, tomorrow I'll be doing a live stream watch along for Origin. I'll be over at the United podcast with Link in there and Retro Rugby League. So we're doing a combined watch along in the United bar. If you want to check out the YouTube channel there, the United podcast.
That's sick.
Obviously, I'll put it on my socials throughout the day. It should be great fun. I've never done a live stream watch along with fellow guests before in the same room. Really excited to be there, and obviously, just heading off to Sydney Saturday. I'll be there for the captain's run, which I love doing. I enjoy going watching the boys train as much as Robbo doesn't like it. He doesn't like me filming there, but I always do appreciate getting up and watching the boys have their final preparations before a game, and then obviously into the main game on Sunday.
Sick, man. And for myself, let's see So I'm doing a live stream myself tomorrow with Dan from Rugby League Outlaws. So that's my next live stream. I'm also traveling up to the sunny coast to see the State of Origin. Man.
Yeah.
Are you gonna go?
I won't be because I obviously got work Friday morning, but be interested in that one. Obviously, Roosters young gun Toby Rodwell is in that game. I believe in the halves.
Yep.
Obviously he was the halfback for the Roosters SG Ball side that got the job done early in the season. So, really keen. The Roosters have had a lot of raps on Toby Rodwell. That's my guru. Could be anything CBA for Thursday night. But, I love watching the junior origins, the under-19s.
Yeah, dude.
It's good stuff. It's good footy.
It is, man. And we've seen some absolute superstars emerge from it as well. Like, this is legitimately a legit, genuine look into the future. It's so good, bro.
I can't remember who it was. I think the NRL did. The NRL put a post out of like all these players that played in the under-19 Origins and where they now, like, for example, for Roosters players, like for Queensland a couple of years ago, you got Rob Toya, Desale Va'a, Xavier Va'a, Hugo Savala. I'm pretty sure, like, you know what I'm saying. Like, they've had all these players, like Blake Steep, all these kind of players that had played in the junior Origin, and where are they now? Like, debuted at the Sydney Roosters, Rob Toya debuted for Queensland this year, kind of thing. So it's really cool. Like, but I always wanted to know though, like, they used to have it before Origin at the games. Like, I think it's great that they're getting, the recognition, having a standalone like time slot, like throughout the evening on Thursday, which is really, really exciting to watch. But looking forward to another great installment come Thursday night.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So you mentioned Roosters players just then for the under-19. So I don't think any men are in the Queensland side that's a part of the North Queensland Cowboys. But for the women's side of things, there is Caitlin Tanner and Jennifer Kimber, who I actually do rate both of those players. So yes, there's a little bit of Cowboys interest for me this Thursday. But the main focus here tonight was round number 16. The focus immediately turns to State of Origin now, obviously. But Hainsey, man, that was an absolute pleasure. I loved talking the footy with you for the first time here on Wobble Enjoy Sports, mate. Welcome back anytime, bro. And if we can, we might do a live stream of just some random old game sometime down the future if you're up for it. But no, man, thank you so much for your time, and you're an absolute champion. And thank you for all the hard work that you do. Even though you love what you do, you do put a lot of hard work in, man.
No, I appreciate it, mate. Thank you very much. I've always watched a bit of your live streams before, and that I really appreciate allowing me the time to come on here. And I love what I do. I don't do it for recognition and all that, but like it's such a surreal experience. Going to games and people asking for photos and all that. But like it's when you're financially and emotionally invested in the football club, you just want to do your best. Please your home fan, your supporter base kind of thing, and and share my passion and how much I love this club. So I really appreciate it.
All right, guys, have a very nice evening. Thank you again, Hainsey. Enjoy the weekend. Go Cowboys, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you. Take care.